All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our March Children's Art Classes Virtual Discovery Day. I'm Sean Hansen with Children's Art Classes, and it's my pleasure to introduce you to Stephanie Larson, our president of Children's Art Classes.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that you're with us today. We are going to be introducing each other in just a few minutes. I'm very excited to have Sean and Michelle join me today on the Discovery. I would love to talk to you more today about the children's art classes story, the vision of the company, and how we all got started, and talk about the opportunity that you have with children's art classes. We're going to look at the curriculum, kind of explore more how this program is designed to grow with all of our students. We're going to look at the model, which will include your launch plan, the training, marketing and advertising, and the support that you get along the way. Questions and answers at the end, but like Sean mentioned before, we will get really bored if you guys don't pipe in. So please, whatever you have questions on along the way, we're happy to help. Barbara Gay is pictured down there with me. My mother, Barbara, is the founder of Children's Art Classes. She is still very much involved with the teacher trainings that we do across the country. She also does studio visits with me when we go out when new studios open. I'm thrilled to be able to continue to work with my mom. Sean Hansen, of course, is with us. I'm very grateful for Sean and all the work that he does for the development side of this franchise. And Michelle Jones, you guys have all met with as well. Just love her to death and so happy that she's with us today. Oh, we added some badges down there as well. Woman of Wonder. Thanks, Sean.
What is that art classes provider of the year? That's our newest award.
Oh,
So
yeah.
go hone in on that
Go
one.
back. So I clicked way too far back, guys. Sorry. We got the art classes provider of the year from Educator Insider Magazine. There we go. We're finally back to that slide. So we're very excited. This program is award winning, and we're almost 30 years old at this point as far as the curriculum. So it was excellent to get that recognition. The Woman of Wonder, I think Sean nominated me, and I didn't know about
I
it.
did.
I'm not a big look at me person, so it makes me a little bashful, but there it is. So now I will continue on.
Excellent.
Sean, if you
I'll
would,
take this one.
yes, I appreciate
Yeah. Hey, click once real quick so you get Michelle and our faces coming in there behind Dennis. There we go. I'll change those animations. So I was going to present this. Hand in heart is we lost our business partner Dennis Morgan last year to cancer. I got a couple guys on this phone call. Go get tested, right? Because this kind of stuff sneaks up on you, please, because it breaks my heart to share this, but. Dennis was a great friend and mentor to me, and through the years has developed, launched, and grown and scaled some amazing brands. When you look at like Jump Care and Home Care Assistants and others, that people know them, right? And that's what we're going children's art classes to. We're really fortunate. When we launched Wavemax Laundry, I was actually the very first franchisee. And then fast forward, Mike Roberts, the founder there, reached out to Dennis one day and said, "You've got to come and check out children's art classes." And I'm like, okay, why? And he's like, well, my daughter Athena has been going there for 6 years, and she's developed that creativity, that positivity, and that right side of the brain thinking, and that has been a wonderful impact on her. And he's like, and I've been paying them $100 a month over a month for 6 years. It's a good business. And we're like, oh, we're on a plane. And so we hopped on a plane and went down and visited Stephanie and Barbara, and frankly fell in love. And for me, it's super personal because this is something my daughter would have truly benefited from growing up. And she always had, she's an athlete, an average student at best, and always had an art project going on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is needed in my world, in the greater world. And now fast forward, she's gone through college, she's out of the house, and so she's a pilot for Delta, proud daddy. And I'm not able to enroll her, but I did enroll my niece and nephew when we opened up our studio in Orlando. And Stephanie, I'm gonna add Harrison's picture to our deck because he's just a little 11-year-old. He did his first ebony pencil, and it's truly impressive. And so I'm able to pay it forward with them, with my family, and I am so pumped. We are opening up, working with Katie to open up her studio in the town right next to me, so we get to bring forward what I always wanted in our community. I'll stop talking. I'm so proud about what we're building with Stephanie and the team, and then Michelle. If you, I know you've met most everyone. If you wouldn't mind adding a little color commentary on yourself.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Excited to see you guys all the way through this discovery process of learning more about children's art classes. I, from our first call, I am so passionate about everything that CAC does. I truly believe in it. Like Sean said, I wish it was here. I knew about it when my kids were younger. There really is athletes too, of course. Sean says his daughter was an athlete. They love art as well, but really just filling that void in so many communities with something of quality. It's not just a random project. So I'm, as always, just so stoked to be a part of the growth and the process with CAC. I love it.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle.
And Sean's
And
going to
I'll take
also
this one.
group. Yeah, let's go.
Awesome. I tag in a
Talk
little
over
bit.
it. I was just kidding.
So exactly. So really, this is one of my favorite parts because we've seen it time and time again. When you really look around, and you'll see that when you get started, a lot of times people going through discovery are launching at the same time. They're communicating, they're collaborating, and going through training together, hiring their teachers, and going on this journey at the same time. So really look around, and people around the Zoom might be your future peers as business owners. So we'll just do the quick, where are you based? What excites you about CAC? And some interesting or fun facts about you that, we can't find on LinkedIn. So I'm going to start with, how about Tim?
Interesting or fun fact not on LinkedIn.
Well, you gotta say, wait, where are you based? What excites you about CAC? Then get to point three. I know, you're jumping to the fun one.
No, totally fair. So you see where my mind is. I'm based in Washington State, kind of northeast of Seattle. What interests me in CAC? My wife has always been more or less an art teacher, right? She got a degree in studio painting and photography, and we have spent the last 22 years yelling how there's not enough art in schools and setting stuff up for our kids and all that stuff. So when I found out about this, it just fit, right? It absolutely aligned with honestly where I'm already going, which was kind of wonderful, right? Because it's not selling a widget, it's not fixing a problem that doesn't exist. It's instilling that creativity, right? Which, I got a couple of daughters who are always doing an art project, right? And it's wonderful to see, right? Because their friends just sit on an iPad all day. So it's kind of fantastic. And then interesting fact, well, I can't do any of the drawing or painting. I do a lot of 3D printing. I do a lot of art that requires my brain instead of my hands because it seems to work better. So there you go.
That's great.
Awesome. I love the 3D printing. It keeps on evolving. It's so much fun. Wonderful. And how about Michael?
Hello again, everybody. Based in Orem, Utah, which is about 40 minutes south of Salt Lake City, down here in what we call Happy Valley. What excites me about CAC is when my now second grade daughter came home from school on the last day of school a year ago with a note that they were discontinuing their art program at the school and they wouldn't have that as one of their specialties. And she was heartbroken all summer. And so having an opportunity to be able to reintroduce that to her life into the community is just something that I don't think we can pass up on at this point. Interesting fact, something unique about me, 'tis the season. March Madness 2011, With Jimmer Fredette and BYU, I made it to the Sweet 16 and was on the floor as we got destroyed physically and emotionally by Florida. The caveat there is I was on the floor as a member of the band and not the team, but I was there and I did suffer with them.
Oh,
That's amazing.
That's awesome. But I do just have to throw out there, Michael, that I am a huge Arizona fan, and so
She lives in Tucson.
better next year maybe for y'all. Just kidding.
Unlikely.
We're just gonna add sand to the wounds. Is Michael, my wife's a Gator, so now you're like, oh man, I really don't like Sean. But I love where you are, Michael. Have you gone out to Jared's studio yet?
I have not yet. That's hopefully coming up in the next week or so.
great.
Yeah, let's make that a priority. They've got a gorgeous studio, and I think one message I really do like highlighting is we collaborate, we don't compete. Right, you're far enough away, different population density and base down there, to where I think that you guys will have a lot in common and a lot of good growth opportunities. So really, go there thinking with that thought of this is gonna be like my colleague. Somebody's gonna help me grow my business, and you're gonna respectively help them. Like we're looking at Chicago. People in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, people are gonna be like, oh yeah, you guys, your headquarters is in Chicago, because we'll have 6 studios open there. I was like, no, it's not. It's down in Jax. So, all right. Well, welcome. We won't talk too much more. No, my bracket's on in. I got to fix that. I'm glad Stephanie's presenting. I'm joking. How about Yuning? Welcome to our Discovery Day.
Hi, my name is Yunying Pathman. Sorry, I was a few minutes late, and thanks you for the reminder, Sean. So I am based in San Francisco Bay Area. Yeah, it's kind of midway between San Francisco and San Jose. I heard about CAC from my career coach, and what excites about me is that I love art, and I've been painting all my life. And I recall when I was a little kid, my mom took me to various camps and classes, and I did that and continue to do that well into my adulthood. After I start working, I still go to different classes and stuff, and so it always give me fun memories, and I benefit lifetime from it. I think, yeah. And interesting fact about me. I think everything's interesting about me. I don't know. My opinion.
I love it.
But you know what? Actually, Sean and me, we caught up the other day. Turned out we were kind of neighbors. I used to live in Sacramento area, and we had a lot of common acquaintances. So I'm an engineer by training, and now I'm in renewable energy space doing development. And I like sailing, I like art, I like music, and I do all that. So
it was a crazy small world when we met. Like,
yeah,
oh my gosh,
it was funny. It was really funny.
That was awesome. Wonderful. Well, welcome. And how about?
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead,
one
please.
thing I want to add that I apologize that I have a work fire I had to put out this morning. So in about 15 minutes, actually, I need to just go offline briefly to take care of something, and I'll rejoin.
That's perfectly fine. Thanks for giving us a heads up.
So,
how about DK?
real quick, sorry.
Oh, wait, go ahead, Tim.
On that note, in about 15 minutes, I need to have a visa conversation that I cannot reschedule. So I will be off temporarily too, but I will come back on just as soon as that's done.
No problem.
I appreciate you both telling us, because we would go through the presentation and I'd be like, well, what did we say? You guys just like all of a sudden drop off. So I appreciate the heads up. So how about DK?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. My wife and I are based out of Denver, Colorado. We got 2 boys. We got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. So our 6-year-old's in 1st grade, and I'll kind of echo what Michael said there. You know, they do art 1 quarter out of the year, and they kind of rotate through their specials, which I think is kind of just awful that they don't have these specials year round, whether it be technology or PE or art or any of them. So, we started looking at, different franchise options and realized that both of our boys are currently in martial arts. And, there's lots of kids that are in martial arts, but you can kind of tell that some of them don't really have the passion to want to do those sort of physical activities. And it kind of dawned on us that, what else can we offer the community? What else can we provide for these kids to do something after school, outside of school, to build more of a hands-on learning environment, something that they can build as a life skill? And that's really why we love CAC. That's why we want to get involved with this, just to provide something to all ages. And then I guess to kind of even second that, I have a lot of tattoos. And my tattoo artist is actually a graphic designer with Lego by design. And so I was talking with him about it, and he is all about, bringing the digital art world into this as well. And so I was like, oh, see, it's everywhere. Everyone you talk to has some sort of artistic niche or something that they want to do. Me, however, I'm an engineer. So I'm really good about drawing stick figures and free body diagrams. Not so much when it comes to actual art, but I like to think that I can try. Yeah, and then I would say interesting fact about me, I grew up in central Montana, little town right in the middle called Great Falls. We were about 30,000 people, and the nearest town bigger than 10,000 was at least a 4-hour drive, so it was very rural. So growing up, we did a lot of cliff jumping, and the highest cliff that I've ever jumped off was about 110 feet. So that's kind of my fun fact that I like adrenaline rushes and, well, apparently trying to endanger myself on a regular basis.
Yeah, I got
As much
tattoos
as
and jumping off high things.
Yep,
I
that's about
dig
it.
it.
I love it.
Yeah, and DK, you actually mentioned that something I should have mentioned in my intro was you asked the question, what else can we do for our community? And that's really part of my core DNA, and really think that's what really pushed it for me. I have a real big belief in all those brands that Dennis has played a role in launching is really do well by doing good. You've got to have that force multiplier where you're having a positive impact on, start with yourself, your family, your community, and then grow out to your city and society at large. And that's what we get to do with CAC. So I'm glad you highlighted that. And I think everybody around this virtual table aligns with that. So how about Bhargav? You jumped in late, but hopefully you got it. We got, where are you based? I think you're in St. Augustine, but
Hey,
what excites
Sean.
you about CAC and something interesting or fun?
Oh yeah, sure. Sorry about that. I got stuck in another meeting. So and also I was looking at maybe I get an notification for the meeting. So somehow I didn't get it. Yeah. Anyways, hey, this is Bhargav. I'm based out of Saint Augustine. I am professionally an IT software engineer. So. What excites me about CSE is like my daughter has been going to CSE since a year, and I see a tremendous improvements in my daughter, the way how she think about and imagine things, like how she dream and she put everything in the paper. And I thought like maybe this is a really good skill for the kids that we need to give it for the people who are in my area, because I drive all the way to Jacksonville for like 30 minutes, and it is taking like a lot of my time. And when I talk to another parents in my neighborhood, they said, oh, that's too far, and probably they I want to make it accessible for every parent in my area. So that's what excited me with the CAC. And so coming to my unique things is like, as a software engineer, I like to code a lot, and also outside of my profession, I like to go beach and hang around beach and all those things. And I have, since being a software engineer, I have a builder mindset. Like it's not just like doing things. I want to do things precisionally and with it's about, I care about the correctness and not just it works. and also I'm a keep continuous learner, and I do work on under a lot of pressure. So those are my unique things that I feel I'm blessed. Yeah. So those are all.
Excellent.
Great.
Well, welcome. And again, everyone, feel free, don't have to stay on mute, don't have to raise your hands as we're going through the presentation. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. Really excited. We've got a great group of folks here on the session today. And again, look around. You might be going through training together, and that's always an exciting moment. Back to you, Stephanie.
I hate to cut out early, but you hear me talk every time I talk to you guys about how family is first. And I am on the last few hours of my family vacation out here. So I'm going to go hang out with the kids. But I just wanted to see you guys all again, say hey, and let me know if I can help in any way.
Have fun, Michelle. Thanks so much for joining us.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Again, thank you guys so much for the introductions. We're going to look at becoming part of the Children's Art Classes story. The vision of Children's Art Classes is truly to become the recognized premier provider of art education and instruction from the littles all the way up, not just the 12th graders. We're even teaching senior citizens at this point, but to have this resource available to as many students across the country as possible. We know the benefits of this program and just the experience of being in a Children's Art Classes studio, what that can offer the student. The why is because art education is fundamental to the development of our kids. It enhances their academics, and it does contribute to the long-term success. Given this type of platform, we see the self-esteem in our students just get so elevated because they are recognized for the achievements at the studio. I love having students come in to the studio that don't necessarily have all of the skills. Maybe they don't even really know too much about art, but the growth that you see in that kid throughout the year, it always filled my cup. I love watching that. So the goals are to educate and enrich the students in the communities that we serve. The only way we can do this is to have our wonderful franchisees across the country help with this vision. And so I am very close with my franchisees. It's exciting that we all share that same goal. We continue to improve the business model. I'm excited about where we're at today. There's been so many different versions since we first launched as a franchise, and more things are becoming easier for the franchisee. Things are more efficient. So my goals are to always continue to improve this business model to continue that success with each owner. This slide to me is very emotional to know where this all started, which was in our house in Roswell, New Mexico, in the garage. My mother, single mom, was working as a high school art instructor and not making enough money. And she was selling Amway in the evenings and still not making enough money to support my sister and myself. And so she took this little block of time that she had after school and she developed this curriculum that was catered to the younger student. It's truly why everything that we do is elevated at the level that it is, because she had been teaching high school art for 25 years. So these 9-year-olds are really doing high school level stuff. They don't know that, but that's really where it all began. My mom is not into arts and crafties. She's way more into the technical side of things and teaching kids how to see. So it all began there, and she quickly outgrew that space and moved into the first retail space in the Roswell Mall, which I was able to show my son. We had a road trip last summer, and I showed him the very first children's art classes, which was pretty cool. Fast forward to 2009, my mom and I opened our first studio together here in Jacksonville, Florida. We outgrew that space pretty quickly and moved into the second location. My sister, we opened a second studio for her. She's in Orange Park, Florida. She still teaches there. And then my husband and I opened a third location out at the beach here in Ponte Vedra Beach. That was in 2018. Now we did look into franchising, my mom and I did, and met with an attorney, and it was a lot of stuff that we could not wrap our heads around, the FDDs, all the regulations. So I truly was blessed when Mike Roberts made the introduction and I got to meet Dennis Mulgannon and Sean Hansen, and they were skilled in all the things that my mom and I wanted to never touch again. So we were able to launch our little family business as a franchise, and we launched in the height of COVID, which was very difficult. Almost pulled the plug many times, not gonna lie. We were taking from all of our other businesses to fuel this franchise opportunity. But I'm so glad that we really just dug our heels in and stuck it through. By 2021, there was 8 studios open, and then by 2022, there was 13 open, and then 12 new studios open in 2023. By 2024, there was 28 studios. We have 35 studios open now. We're going to have another 20 open by the end of 2026. We're in 26 states and counting, and we have almost, I think, 90 sold. It's just wild, and it's so amazing to see the growth. Very
But
excited.
this week marked a nice milestone because as we talk about new franchise owners, Stephanie's sister-in-law just officially joined our
Yeah.
team. And so I always look at that with, friends and family, like, you wouldn't sell to your sister-in-law unless it's a good business, right? And have her join the team. And then we also had another joke about Chicago. Just this morning, we're onboarding Maria from Chicago. So, and then piggybacking on that, those awards down there, we were just selected by Entrepreneur Magazine as bear in mind, there's over 5,000 franchise concepts out there in the country. And so when they narrow it down to the Franchise 500, they really are the best of the best. And so as you see back in 2022, we're new, then we're new and emerging, now we're real. And so we got, we're selected, I think we're number 380 overall, and number one in category. And so that means a lot. And that's really an art, not art, but children's enrichment programs. So we're really proud of that. And when they do those awards, they actually survey our owners. So it's not just stuff that I provide or corporate provides, but it goes into that. See, Stephanie, I am so glad that they told us that they had to hop off because I would have been like, oh my gosh, what did I say? So.
I'm glad too. So Sean's always updating our map. I love looking at this and seeing that we're in all the states that we are, and there's still more coming, which is exciting. So this has just been, like I said, quite the journey, and to see that we're in more and more states, being able to reach more communities has always been the mission. I think the biggest differentiator about children's art classes is that the program really does grow with each student. This is one of my students, Anastasia. She started in Tiny Hands. That's her by her little ladybug at the art show, and she was 3. And Anastasia grew up in the studio. She was with me every single year. It was her senior year was my first year not teaching in the studio, just because the growth of the franchise pulled me away from teaching classes and being there consistently. She was not happy with me that I wasn't her teacher her senior year, but she did stay with children's art classes from 3 all the way till 18, until she graduated, and now she's going to college, and her goal is to become a doctor, and her art was always her stress relief. But this girl is so unbelievably talented. In the back of my mind, I'm like, maybe one day she'll come back and she'll do teaching or something. But she's an amazing little person. So it's great to know that nothing repeats, and the child can continue to come as long as they love it. And for you as a franchisee, this really is a part-time business. You can run your studio with 1 or 2 teachers. It's a part-time position. It's about 20 hours of teaching for that teacher every week. It gets really fun when you meet 2 teachers teaching at the same time. Then you have to add classes to your schedule to accommodate your growth. But really, you can run your business with a very small team of people, which I've always appreciated. For startup costs, it's relatively low. I would say it's more like in the 100 to 150 all in range, and that gives you the franchise fee. It gives you money for your build out, and it also includes some working capital. We have a proven success record. I love my team, my franchise development team. I have so much experience in different areas. We've got a wonderful team for marketing and for real estate. It's all the areas that you have that support as you're getting open. Taking a look at this slide, this is really kind of just a snapshot of what you can expect every year as a business owner. You do create two schedules every year. One is your summer schedule, and the other is your class schedule that runs really roughly about 9 months throughout the school year. So you create those schedules really close together. It's the February, March timeframe that you're putting those schedules together for the year. And you need to be looking at your marketing budget and planning for that. You always have a consistent marketing spend every month. There's a couple areas throughout the year. There's the back to school push where you're going to ramp up your marketing and spend more money at that time because kids are going back to school and parents are looking for extracurriculars. So you might be in more guides, back to school guides, things like that. And then going into summer, we always spend a little bit more to be in the summer camp guides and things like that. What's nice is once you establish what's working locally, it's fairly easy to continue on that path. You'll have those same marketing sources contact you. Hey, you want to run the same ad? You want to be in the guide? So you get to know what's working for you and you can stay consistent with your marketing. I never really read the slides, guys. I'm sorry. Okay, so in the springtime, when you're creating your summer schedule, you're going to also be placing a supply order for things that you might need in summertime that you don't necessarily have during the school year. And then in June is when we have our big supply order for the school year. And the way that works, guys, is the majority of our art supplies are from Blick Art Supply. And you basically, the second year being in business, you'll replenish the supplies that you used from the first year and add the new supplies for the next level of the curriculum. It's nice in June that we get additional discounts. They always give additional discounts to teachers, but I was very excited to be the first business to negotiate with Blick and actually get a bundle package price. They've never done it in the history of their company, but they recognize that we have been loyal, and now that we have 35 locations open and growing, they were willing to give us a better deal on our art supplies. So that's exciting. And they've also bundled it. So your first time order is really easy. Add it to the cart and click and order. So we're excited for that development. It just makes things easier for our franchisees. Local advertising is important. You do identify what sources parents are already going to look for this type of activity. Social media is great, but I have found, looking at across at all the locations, the more local you go, truly the better results that you have, because this is a kid business. And when you're advertising on places that are reaching 50, 60,000 parents, you're not really seeking them out. They're coming to you. So that's a good place to be. There's a lot of different websites available now. And there's still local print magazines that people take as well that you can advertise in. So that's kind of your summer look at what goes on. It's the same every year, so you get pretty good at what to expect. Now, during the month, when you're actually open for business, meeting with your instructor, I would definitely recommend just keeping a close eye on your business when you're first open. The more you can micromanage in the beginning, I feel like the quicker you can take a step back and know that your business is in good hands. So just making sure that your instructor is preparing for the lessons. Happy parents are leaving the studio, happy kids. It's always good to just have a handle on the expectations early on. The back office activities for this business have really been streamlined with Sawyer Tools. I'm very grateful for this platform. This is software that's designed specifically for kid businesses, and they're the best in the country. Sawyer Tools handles all of your schedule creations. It's also where parents will go to sign up for classes. It's all the payment processing, the automatic payments are set up there. And it's also a way for your teacher to communicate to the parents. So they have access at the instructor level and they can communicate to parents through Sawyer as well. It just makes life a lot easier. Back in the day, it was cash or check payments, and you're running to the banks several times a month and chasing bounce checks, and none of that happens anymore, which is great. You get that chunk of time back. As a franchisee, you'll be required to submit your marketing spend every month. You're required to spend $1,000 a month on your marketing until you reach 150 students. That can dock down a little bit, but we've been in business for a long time, and I don't know that we've ever dipped below $1,000 a month. It's important to keep that presence every single month. And then you'll also be submitting your gross revenue report, which is also calculated through Sawyer, which is pretty convenient. You will have the opportunity to offer one-off workshops at your studio. This is not your main source of income by any means. I actually view it more as a marketing opportunity, but we are not a drop-in studio. So you don't want to confuse your reputation in the community as such. That stuff already exists. But every once in a while, if you wanted to do like a holiday workshop where the kids come in for a couple hours and do a clay project, that's fine. Birthday parties are a big one. I think there's so many, there's only so many birthday party experiences out there, the jumpy houses, we've all done them. So having a nice smaller party at an art studio where you can do painting or clay, it's very appealing to families. So you have opportunity there, and it's good revenue for those birthday parties as long as your teachers are available to do the parties. I do monthly owners meetings. I do those actually a little bit more sporadic now, honest, just being transparent because of the growth and the trainings and everything else. But I love our owners calls because I think it's just such a big collaboration. I really appreciate hearing from my franchisees. I think it's really important to make sure everybody knows the expectations coming into the next month or the next, couple months. So that communication doesn't just occur on a monthly owners call. My franchisees know I am available. That's really my passion is helping people. So they know that they can reach out directly. If they have an emergency, they can email me. We do bi-weekly calls. I'm available for all of that. I don't just disappear once you're open. I still meet with my franchisees that have been open for 4 years. So it's whatever you need. I do want to be there as that support line. Teacher trainings have, evolved over time as well. We did company-wide teacher trainings every month, which they've all been recorded. And now I am actually getting experts coming into the field to educate all of our owners and our teachers. The next training that I have set up and scheduled, I have a professional. She is going to be discussing neurodivergence and how we can handle different students in the classroom better and how we can accommodate these kiddos. So I'm excited for that. That's on April 1st that we're all going to be listening to this expert and taking tips from her. So that's exciting to me. So those trainings are really geared to just continue the education process for us as owners and then also for our teachers. Communication during the week. You're not going to have a huge team of people, but if your teacher needs something, that's important that they can communicate directly to you. However, most of our supplies are ordered in advance and they will be there. So really the only time you're going to be hearing about supplies is if you're running low on clay or glaze. Clay, you can't order, I don't know, you can order about 2,000 pounds worth of clay and then you just need to use it up and then reorder because it's so heavy and it takes up a lot of room. So there's certain art supplies that will need to be reordered throughout the year, but not many. And the first year in business, the first 4 years in business, really, you want to be at your studio at least 4 hours a week. And that can look all different ways. Maybe you dedicate one night a week where you're at the studio just observing and making sure. Maybe you stop by for an hour every day. It's just important that you know that, yes, this is a semi-absentee business, but this is also going to be like your newborn child that you're releasing out into the world. You don't want to just turn your back on it. You want to make sure that you're overseeing operations and that things are going smoothly. And then it can become more of a semi-absentee business. I speak the truth on that. I have a studio out in Ponte Vedra, and my teacher is there, and it's a one gal show out there, and I'm not there very often. It's very nice, but it's in autopilot mode now. So that's where we want to get your studio as well. But it's great to
I think when you go out there for clay deliveries about once every 4 months, 6 months, like
yeah.
Stephanie's never at Ponte Vedra. But you grow to that. I mean, like when we get into the launch plan, the hardest work you're ever going to put into your children's art classes studio is that initial launch, right? Ride that wave, ride it hard, and then you get into cruise control, and then, a few years in, Stephanie, I give her a hard time. She hasn't been out there for a long time. We'll put it that way.
It's true, but I've got a solid teacher. I can count on her. And this business is simple by design. You don't really have a lot of moving parts and pieces, which is great. You don't need to overcomplicate it. There's no reason to. But it's great to show face, at birthday parties, even if you showed up at the end of the party to talk to parents, you do get new students signed up because they learn about your business by being at their friend's birthday party. So it's good to show your face and meet the people in your community. It's just such a community grown business. It really is. Your first year of being open, your class schedule will be limited to 4 levels of the curriculum. So let me just kind of touch on that. Tiny Hands, this is a 2-year curriculum level. This is for the 3 and the 4-year-old students, meaning if you have a 3-year-old join your program, they will take Tiny Hands. And then next year, when they come back the following school year as a 4-year-old, they will be taking Tiny Hands. But it's the second year of the curriculum, so no projects repeat. So it's a 2-year program. Tiny Hands, it depends on the market. It truly does. We here in Jacksonville, we have one Tiny Hands class Saturday mornings. Out at the beach, I have 3 Tiny Hands classes, I think right now. It's a little bit more popular out there, so you can kind of weigh it out, but typically you'll see 1 or 2 classes of Tiny Hands students that will come once a week for 45 minutes. There's only 6 kids in the class. So again, depending on the needs of your community, you might have a plethora of Tiny Hands classes. That's fine. But typically we'll see 1 or 2 classes of Tiny Hands students. And to be clear, let's say there's a Wednesday after school Tiny Hands class and a Saturday morning Tiny Hands class. The Wednesday students are the Wednesday kids. The Saturday kids are the Saturday kids. It's 2 batches of kids. They don't hop around every week. Whatever the parent enrolls them into is going to be their class. Of course, if they were sick or something and they need a makeup, they could attend the other class to catch up. So that's Tiny Hands. Introduction to Art. These are the 5 and the 6-year-old students, one of my favorite levels of the curriculum. I love these children. They're so excited to learn everything. Intro to Art is also 2 years of projects. So the 5-year-old will get to do both years of Intro to Art. Nothing repeats. If they're a 6-year-old coming in, they're going to be Intro to Art, but they'll only get 1 year of intro before they'll go on to the next level of the program, which is beginning art. Just to touch a little bit more on Intro to Art, you'll see on your schedule 3 or 4 different times throughout the week. We like to give different options for parents. So you might see a 4 o'clock after school Introduction to Art class. You might see a 5:15, a 6:30, and maybe a Saturday. But that's a very popular class. So we typically will put it on your schedule 3 or 4 different times on that class schedule. There's 10 students in the Introduction to Art class, and they are coming once a week for 1 hour. Beginning Art is the next level of curriculum. Again, 2 years worth of projects, nothing repeats. I love Beginning Art as well. I guess I'm biased. I love it all. But these students, it's getting a little more serious. So they're going to spend a little more time on each project. The younger, the Tiny Hands and the Intro kids, their projects are new. Every week for Tiny Hands, they're new. Introduction to Art, they're 1 or 2 week projects. When you get to Beginning, they're 3 weeks, sometimes 4 week projects. So they're a little bit more involved. They're doing charcoal still life, they're doing pointillism, they're doing watercolor landscape, a lot of design projects. So they're a little bit more involved, a little more serious. There's 12 students in beginning art, and they're coming for an hour and 15 minutes once a week. And it's similar to intro in that you'll have at least 3 or 4 different classes throughout the week that are offered for beginning art. Now, Art One changes a bit. The younger kids, all those 3 levels that we just talked about, the skill level for these kids kind of stays the same throughout the school year because they're always doing something new. They're learning different mediums, they're learning different, artists and their works and things like that. So that being said, you can enroll new kids well into the program. Even if your school year kicks off in September and you go till the end of May, if you have an open seat in a Tiny Hands intro or beginning class, you can put a new kid in there. They're going to join whatever project is going on in the class and they'll finish out the remainder of the year. They're not going to feel behind because it's new stuff all the time. Art One is different. Art One progresses. So everything they're learning through that first project, they're going to be utilizing in the second one and then the third project and so on. So with Art One, any first-time student, whether they're a 9-year-old or they're 99, they have to go through Art One. It's foundational. So they learn value and texture and line and shape and how to see. And I don't care if you don't know how to draw, I can teach you. It is a skill. There are techniques involved. So Art One is very technical. It's the most work as a teacher. You are constantly making corrections, constantly showing, oh, this looks great, but where is it in your box? They work from a grid on a lot of the photos. So Art One, because it's foundational and because we have to make sure that they get all the projects, there is a cutoff where you have to take Art One off the schedule. And it's right about this time of year. It's when the students get into project number 3. If they've started project number 3, we got to hide the class schedule because now they've missed too much to catch up. If you're still in the first couple projects of the year, we by design offer these same projects in summer for these late Art One students that might join in January or might join in February. If you've missed a project, well, guess what? You can still enroll, but you're going to have to take it in summer as a workshop. So we have that covered where we still can take students most of the year. It's really getting into that mid-March, end of March timeframe where we actually have to hide the Art Ones, but by April, we have the brand new schedule up for the following school year. So April, that's published, so you don't have to turn people away. You can get them signed up for the upcoming school year, and also you'll have your summer classes to offer that family as well, because that's scheduled. Those are both up by April. Other activities, as we talked about before, you can do birthday.
Stephanie, real quick on the Art One, if you could, before we move on.
I forgot a big chunk of that.
I guess my question with Art One is, 9 and up is a very big range of age, I guess, especially for kids. So like
Yes.
similar to like beginning art, say you have 3 or 4 classes a week. Do you have like the same Art One maybe 4 times a week when we open, and then basically do like a 9 to 12 group on one day and maybe a 13 to 15 another day and like a 16 to 18 on a different day, just to kind of keep those age groups separate even though they're all taking Art One? Or how does that work out with the kids?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And I'm sorry I completely spaced and didn't tell you. Art One, you'll probably see it on the schedule 6 or 7 times throughout the week because it's everybody else. So you'll have definitely the most offerings will be for Art One. What we've seen since we've done this for a couple years, if you label it Teen Art One, you're kind of restricting registrations. So rather, we let the registrations come in. If I see that I have a group of Art Ones and it's all 9 and 10-year-olds, and then there's one 17-year-old, call the parent, say, hey, I see that your kid signed up for Wednesday. Not that it matters, but I do have a class that has teenagers if she'd rather be in the class on Thursdays. There's more kids in there that are her age. Sometimes it really doesn't matter to the kid, they don't care. But I've seen like those 13 and 14-year-olds, they're a little more self-conscious. They would probably rather be in the class with more 14-year-olds than 9-year-olds. So as a business owner, as the registrations are coming in, I do keep an eye out for that, but I don't label the class Art One for teens because then you might be stuck with 3 or 4 kids in there and you really limit your registration. I do recommend doing Art One for adults because you don't want, sometimes the mom will sign up with their kid, which is fine, but it's a totally different vibe if some random adult is in there without their kid. So it's just a different vibe. So we definitely recommend. My mom calls it her granny class. She's so funny. She's 73 and she teaches her grannies, but they come in at 3 on Mondays and do Art One with my mom because none of them want to drive after dark. So she has a class that's just, it's all grannies and then this one tattoo artist that wanted to work on his skills. Hilarious. Great, great class. So that I would recommend maybe just doing one adult class in the evenings, because that, like I said, it's just a different vibe if it's a random adult. So hopefully that helps you there with that question. Okay, great. Holiday workshops we talked about. Boy Scout, Girl Scout badge events at the studio. Those are great. They can come in and do a pottery badge. I love that kind of relationship with the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. That's great. You can also do field trips. We had a lot of homeschool communities want to do field trips to the studio and like bring in an art project that they might be studying about in school and kind of incorporate that theme into the project. We've done that. Um, so excited to learn more about the neurodivergent community as well because what we're finding is that there if the teacher has certification you can offer a special needs class for these kiddos. There is going to be curriculum level that's going to fit their needs. We have such a wide range where if you have a special needs group that's going to be a smaller class size for those kids, more one-on-one with the teacher, and maybe they're teenagers, but their skill level is more in the intro class. It's fine. We want to be able to have the studio available for this group of kids and they can benefit from it as well. And if we can accommodate, we will. So that's also an opportunity. Mommy and Me is really just the tiny hands class, but offered in the mornings. So if you wanted to put a morning tiny hands and have the mom there, that's fine. But the minimum age for us is 3. We want the kid potty trained. That's a big one. And we don't want the choking hazard like babies. Don't want to do babies. So that's how that goes. Adult classes, senior classes. Some of these senior centers have buses where how wonderful would it be for these seniors to be shuttled over to the studio once a week for their art class, get them out and about and keep their minds sharp. So there's a lot of opportunity. If you think about it, your studio is very lonely during the day. So you're mostly after school and Saturdays. So you've got opportunities there to work with what you have. If you have a licensed art therapist that wants to offer sessions at your studio during the day, that's also an opportunity. So really there to serve the community, and there's a lot of different ways that we can do that. We don't do alcohol in the studio. There's plenty of painting with the twist things out there. It's way more of a liability for us as business owners, so it's definitely G-rated, but you could still do work events for adults if they wanted to come in and build a pot and, have that sense of camaraderie. Always cool. You have the time to do it. I help you with your first year schedule creation. I have basically, hey, this is what works historically, so you don't like flood your schedule with 17 tiny hands classes when we know it's typically 2 classes of tiny hands that does it. So I definitely help you with that schedule creation. Typical schedule might look like a Monday through Thursday and a Saturday. It's different in every market. So your first year being open, if Wednesday's a flop, maybe you put 2 teachers on Tuesday. If Tuesday's a really popular day, you can have 2 teachers offering, different versions of the schedule and do that on a popular day and drop Wednesday off. So there's some flexibility there, but I definitely help you figure out what to do for that first year that you're open. Parties, we do not go rogue on parties as far as what the projects are. We stick to clay and painting. We still want it to be fine arts, representing children's art classes, like no slime parties, that kind of stuff. So as far as what the kids paint or what the kids create in clay, That's typically arranged after like the party theme, like the one down below where they're holding all those puppies. It was a puppy party. So we painted puppies. Or maybe they love unicorns. Or maybe it was a Harry Potter birthday party and they want to make their favorite character out of clay. There's a lot of freedom there as far as what the projects are, but we're going to stick to the mediums that represent what we do as a business. This slide is very special to both Sean and I. I'm going to pass it over to him, and he's going to talk about this project that Dennis had come up with. So, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, this is no, it's so again, we lost a great man, great mentor, but we get to honor his legacy by continuing to bring CAC across the country. So Dennis and his family, they built this amazing charity ranch. Stephanie's going to come out in a couple of weeks and go visit, and up in the Sierra foothills here outside of Sacramento, up near Placerville, like literally like 3 miles from where they first found gold. Really cool, over by Sutter's Mill. And he's got a wiffle ball scale version of Fenway Park and hosts tournaments and fundraisers for pediatric cancer organization, and raises lots of money there to help those kiddos and their families who are going through challenging times. And then, fast forward, he remodeled what was sort of a barn or a shed into this mid-century modern masterpiece. And if you've got stairs in that mid-century modern, you got to make them the Brady Bunch stairs. And he did. So that looks like, from our childhood and our watching the reruns, it's perfect. My wife and I, we've done like our Christmas card poses in front of on the stairs, etc., with our kiddos. And y'all remember Mom's favorite vase in that episode where we had never seen Mom's favorite vase in any other episode? And then all of a sudden, Bobby bounces the ball, goes and breaks Mom's favorite vase. Well, as Dennis was remodeling the ranch, he had to have Mom's favorite vase. And so we put out, I'll take credit for that now, he put out that call to Stephanie is like, let's have a competition in our studio. And I'll kick down a $250 scholarship for whoever comes up with Mom's favorite vase. And they did, and you can see that replay, and then in the studio when they're doing the project, and then it's right there in the ranch. And we continue to honor that legacy. We're hosting a pediatric cancer event just this weekend, and it's just amazing. So I love the story, love being able to pay it forward, and it's such a good example of what you can do in your own community. And if you have a thought, you have something, we just run it up the flagpole. Hey, Stephanie, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? Odds are pretty high. She's already got the curriculum for anything you want, like a special event or a birthday party or whatever. She'll be like, all right, here, page 42 of your teacher manual has this. Let's go. So anyway, this was really amazing. And you can see it's right there in the ranch. It looks beautiful. And hopefully we never bounce a basketball down there to break it.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, the kids love being involved with those types of activities too. So if you ever wanted to do little contests in the studio with your students, you can. I have so many owners that are doing art shows, end of year art shows in the studio, which is amazing. It's in our ops manual. I think my mom did 50 art shows throughout her career, and we used to go big. I mean, we'd get like a 10,000 square foot retail space in this old dilapidated mall out here in Jacksonville, and we would set up the art show for like 2 months, and it would draw like 2,000 people to this deadbeat mall because the art show was such a huge event, and it was for the kids, right? We had it judged by local artists and local art teachers, and they got ribbons, and it was just such a big night for the kids. So I love that so many of our studio owners are not doing it quite to that scale yet, but they're utilizing their studio to put on these art shows for these kids. It's a big deal for them. It's like a recital, and it brings people to your business. So, I mean, all in all, it's a win-win. If you ever wanted to do an art show like that in the studio, we've got the play-by-play on how to do it. The curriculum. This is why the business is what it is. It's the secret sauce. It's why this has been such an amazing thing, amazing program for almost 3 decades. It truly is the curriculum, and the artwork that leaves the studio that's the business. It's the business. So everything in there is really dialed in, especially at this point. You know, when we were launching as a franchise, I was once a first-time teacher learning from my mother. I taught for 16 years. I wanted to pour in every detail I could possibly put into these lesson plans, knowing that this was going to be duplicated across the country. So when I say the lesson plans are thorough, I don't know if any art teacher has ever seen a more thorough lesson plan than what I have. It's the goals, it's the supplies, it's how to set the table, it's what to deliver to the students. It is a play by play by play. And then in addition to the written curriculum that stays in the studio, we make you your curriculum binders. So you have all of your binders. You get those at training. But I developed a training site. So the digital copies of the curriculum live on the training site. So if your teacher was wanting to prep from home or read the lesson plans ahead of time, he or she would have access to the training site. And every project in the curriculum has an example or 50 examples, just depending on the project. But there are examples of the student artwork. So it is clear this is the goal, this is the expectation, and those expectations matter. That is what's going to bring, like, set you apart from everything else that's out there, is because it's quality art education. This is not just a little art factory where we're getting in and it's just making that money. It really is finding the teacher that is teaching these kids and cares about their progress and putting good product out your door. Because once you're open, it's word of mouth. I mean, yes, you advertise every month, but it is so and so telling so and so about children's art classes because their kid is thriving and their kid is excited. You get so much organic growth, but you won't if the artwork sucks. So we really focus on the quality. I've got quality control checks. These teachers have to show pictures of what they're producing because a lot of our studio owners don't have a background in art. You don't have to be an art guru to own a children's art classes. We have a quality control checking these photos that they're required to upload. It's important. It's important. And it's not to say, shame on you, this is terrible. It is to meet one-on-one with these teachers that need the extra support. And so that was the change this year in teacher trainings. I saw the same teachers, you know, month after month after month. Then we have more and more qualified art teachers on our team where they don't need to show up. They're doing a great job. Their artwork's amazing. Let's gear the training specifically for somebody who needs help. Maybe they're just not executing and they don't understand the project or whatever it is. We are teachers by trade. So we want to help those teachers. It is a big support system. Every teacher that's hired on has Barbara's cell phone number. She is literally with our chickens by the pool most days. Other than Mondays, she still teaches. So she fields phone calls. They know they have a direct lifeline to Barb. I don't want them, you know, in a forum trying to help each other out. Let's get it from the source. I don't want it watered down. If you have a question about something, go to the source. We've got an amazing support team for these teachers. They are your business. They are the face of your business. And the curriculum
So
is
Stephanie,
why it works.
I want to tell you again, you can tell because this is a big initiative this year, bringing Brittany in to like focus on that quality. You can tell like Stephanie's so adamant about it because if you really think about it, the art that comes out of your studio becomes your number one marketing resource as you grow your business because parents are proud and they're showing friends and family. And you'll see when we get into the marketing is once we hit 100 kiddos, then it's groundswell because now they're telling friends and family, talking about it. Like Trace, again, I go back and roll in my own niece and nephew. Like they're highly involved in their private school there in Altamont Springs. And so now coming out of that, my sister-in-law is showing all of her friends and family, right? My brother was their middle school basketball coach. And so they're showing the whole team. And so that's why we really want to have that high caliber, really solid art coming out of our studios to ensure that the kids are learning what are, you know, this great structured curriculum, but then B is it's an awesome marketing tool for y'all. So sorry to tag in, Stephanie, but it's amazing. I'm going to go find that picture. I'm going to throw it on the screen shortly of what Harrison did. It blew me away.
Yeah, it's awesome. And yeah, they're taught throughout the curriculum. Over 30 areas of art are taught to these kids, and they are very competitive if they want to be. If they want to take their artwork that they've done in the studio, they are getting scholarships for that artwork. They don't not everybody wants to pursue art in college. It's totally fine. But for those who do, we instill the buy a portfolio, get a portfolio case. Like at age 7, hey, for Christmas, tell mom and dad to get you a $10 portfolio case from home, Hobby Lobby. So you're saving your work because these pieces that they're creating are really beautiful and they could be money in the bank for that kid in the future. They don't know. They're still young. They don't know. So we see so much growth in these kids. My son, Lex, he started when he was in Tiny Hands. And of course, we were hoping that he would like art, but he's really talented. He's going to be 14 in June. He's in Art 5 this year. So I still take him to the studio Monday nights. And I just interviewed all of the advanced kids while I was there. And why do you come back every year? And I have all of these. Sean, I haven't even sent them to you. But I have all of these testimonials from these teenagers that have grown up in the studio talking about their specific reason. Why do they want to come to the studio every week? Why do they still come year after year after year? 3 past students are teaching for us at Jacksonville. So they went full circle. They grew up in the studio, went off to college, and now they're teachers at our studio with my mom. So it's really amazing to be able, now that we're franchising, to not only instill like this is your future, this can be scholarship money, but hey, do you want to teach one day? Or hey, do you want to own your own business one day? This is all opportunities that we have available for these kids, in addition to just learning art. So it's very exciting to me. I'm obviously pretty passionate about it. But it continues to grow. So the curriculum offered during the school year is set. That one's set in stone. It's the core. It's the reason why we are what we are. Summer workshops continue to expand. So if you have an idea, it's a lot of art teachers. There's a lot of teachers. I think there's 80 or 90 teachers now across the studios. And I have been inundated with all these amazing ideas. And I am open. I have to approve the lesson, but I think we added like 7 or 8 different classes this past couple months that are going to be available as summer workshops, digital art included, sewing included. There's a lot of different options out there now. As long as your teacher has the background to teach them, you can offer it at your studio. So the summer workshop curriculum continues to grow, which is exciting to me. Summer workshops bring in new students for your fall program. It's a feeder. This is Grace, another student that grew up in the studio. She's in her 3rd year, I think, at SCAD, which is Savannah College of Art and Design, top art school in the country. She went on scholarship. She's doing amazing things. She's going to be an architect. And she still comes and has lunch with me when she's visiting home. But it's really amazing to see these kids thrive, and they are the most competitive across the country because of what they're learning.
Stephanie,
Yeah.
did you talk about that SCAD recruiter?
Oh no.
I
So I did
I love
not.
this story.
I think I clicked ahead too far. So SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, this woman that worked for SCAD, her name is Trudy, and she would go across, I think, 7 or 8 countries to these portfolio days for these art students. They would bring in their portfolio. Trudy would be the one to say, hey, you're lacking here. Maybe you're missing a still life piece. She would guide these kids so they could build their portfolio and hopefully get scholarships. She was at a portfolio day in Jacksonville. This is probably 13, 14 years ago. And she saw several of our students there, and she couldn't believe the work. And she finally asked one of the kids, where are you going to school for this? Where are you doing these projects? Children's art classes. Trudy shows up at the studio. She talks to my mother for, I don't know, she was there like most of the afternoon watching classes and whatnot. And she said in all of her years doing all these portfolio days across 7 or 8 countries, she had never seen the quality of work that she had seen from these high school students. It made my mom's life. I think that was like maybe she says having us as daughters was like her first highlight, but I don't know. I think this one beat it. She was so excited to have that validation from Trudy. And we've stayed friends with Trudy all this years. She was one of our judges at all of our art shows. She would come and do the ribbons and stuff as one of the judges. But it really is so above and beyond. So when I'm helping franchisees with their interviews for teachers, it's a really important role that we're trying to find this individual that is excited about the program and excited to elevate these kids and hold them to a higher standard because they can do it. They are so unbelievably capable. Art One, this is the first project I ever laid eyes on when I was in college and my mom was teaching in our little Roswell Mall. And I saw this Ebony project, and these kids were 8, 9, 10 years old. And I was blown away. And she's like, it's just so teachable. And it really is. It's just broken down in a way where any person can learn to have this type of wonderful drawing as a result, whether they've had art before, or if they already love art, you too can learn it. And it's such a big deal. They spend like 8, 9 weeks on this one drawing. So we celebrate that success. At the end, they have worked so hard and they've accomplished so much through that first project. That's the very first project in Art One. And they're blown away. Did you ever think you could draw like this? No. You've got these kids holding their artwork so proud, and it's broken up lesson plan by lesson plan by lesson plan. So when we meet with our teachers for the teacher training, your initial training, which is in Jacksonville, it's at the studio. It's you and whoever you're hiring. You come to the studio for 2 days. We really dive into how to deliver these lessons in the way to reach these kids. And it's broken down in a way where everybody has success. And now Sean's nephew has had that success too, which is very exciting. I love that he's gone through it. Here are the kids working in the studio. We teach everything from their posture to you'll see them pointing to the box on their photograph. Everything is done for a reason. And these are the results that we see, which is incredible. Art 3, we're going to jump ahead. The Art 3 curriculum, by the time they get to Art 3, they are the ripe old age of 11, 12, and the projects that they're doing, they're very involved as far as like their critical thinking. It's working their way through all of the directions that are involved, and it's college level work on some of the stuff. They don't know it, but they do 5-color block printing with registration. They do cast paper, which involves creating a plaster mold and making their own paper pulp. It's a lot more 3D stuff. But the painting that they do, it's with gouache. Gouache is spelled really funky. You can see that at the top. It's opaque watercolor paint. I think Sean was saying, I don't remember how you used to pronounce it, but it was
I
hilarious.
had to ask you. I was like, Goucher. Like, what is this? It's amazing, though.
Yeah. And these kids drawing for them is no big deal now. They've been doing grid drawings for 2 years and they know how to make all of their colors. We teach them color theory. And so the projects that we see from the gouache painting, they're unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'll show you here in just a minute. Oh, there's June. June is also in college now. He stayed with us for many, many years. But those wine glasses, if you really look at it, it's all shapes. They learn how to identify and see shapes, and then they figure out how to mix the color according to the photograph, and it's just incredible. And all the results that we see from the gouache paintings are insane. This one, the MG Midget, this car, my son's room is all cars, and I made this student. I was like, here's $20. Go make me a print at Kinko's or wherever it was. I'm like, I need a print of that MG Midget so I could put it in my son's room. And it's just beautiful. But we make them like pick something shiny for this project so they can see all the reflections. And yeah, they're just beautiful. The 3 hands down here is very special as well. This was one of my students. It was her mother, and her grandma, 3 generations in that picture. So I love for them to bring in the photographs that inspire them. I feel like they just get that much more committed to the project when it's a photo that they've chosen. And this is the little student who painted the hands. This is Shiloh. Shiloh went all the way through the program. She started at Art 1. She was only 8. We were actually teaching Art 1 to 8-year-olds there for a little bit, but we saw better success with the 9-year-olds, so we created another level of curriculum for beginning art. That's why it's 2 years now. But Shiloh stayed with it. She ended up going to SCAD. She ended up teaching at the studio for 2 years with us, which was amazing. But now she's going back to college because she really wants to be an art therapist, and she'll be an amazing one. But these are always at her art shows. So these are the end of year art shows that I was talking about before, and they were done up and they were done well. Questions? Do we have chat questions, Sean? I don't know if
I will check that right now. Give me a
Okay.
moment.
Yes,
We
well,
did, but Bargo, he had to hop to another meeting, so that's the only one in the chat. But go ahead. I think DK was asking something. Sorry.
Yeah, so I guess to go back to the marketing thing, I guess just kind of thinking about different marketing opportunities. You guys said that you have the place that we go through. Do they kind of point us in the right direction as far as what the best marketing tools are? Like maybe whether you're doing some newspaper, some social media, some putting out flyers to local communities. Like,
See, I told you on Traffic Cop, it's coming. We're gonna go deep into marketing, DK.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
are almost there. We are almost there. It's a big part of what we do. So I definitely will get those questions answered for you. I'm just gonna try to stay on track for
I'll
all
hold
of
my
us.
horses back. What about when it comes to? I'm just thinking ahead to the timeline. Like obviously, June's right around the corner. School's just finishing up. We're kind of right in that process of going through this discovery. We still have to find a place. We still have to renovate. How realistic is it to potentially even be able to do that, assuming we do find a place? And if we don't find a place, like how does it look opening, say, in January at a mid-year? Is that ideal, or is it actually just best practice to wait until summer of next summer? Like just kind of mentally, like what sort of avenues do we have here?
Great
Traffic
question.
Cop, again, we're coming up to it. I promise you. We're getting into the launch plan. But I love you. No, this is great. You're telegraphing our presentation. You're in. That's good.
No, yes, we are going to cover that for sure in depth.
Okay.
All right, I promise.
And you're right on track right now. So no,
Yeah.
you're like reading our minds. Here's what's coming.
Perfect. It's perfect. So launching as a new franchisee, let's say we're ready to go. You sign, you wire, we're in. You and I meet. We spend about an hour together, kind of going through SharePoint and showing you the ops manual and all that jazz. And like I said, I'm a teacher, so I'm going to assign you homework, things to do, because there's a lot you can be learning. I always say a good franchisee is somebody who can be a good student. There's a lot to learn. This is like your new little child. You want to learn everything about it, and I'm going to direct you and give you the resources so you can be learning the things that you need. But a huge part of that, our focus really goes immediately to your site selection. So we meet with Gary Litvin. He's head of NAI Elliott, which has brokerage all across the country. So our very first goal after you meet with me is we're going to meet with Gary and the local broker wherever you live. This broker is going to know everything we're looking for in your studio. This is going to help you tremendously because it'll keep you from falling in love with the space that's just not going to check all the boxes. They know the traffic count, how much parking we need, the frontage, all of those details that are important. You have help and guidance for that. Everything that you will tour physically there in your city and state will be pre-approved by me. So anything that you go and fall in love with at that point is great. You already have my approval because I've already screened it before you even saw it. So that's where we start. That process can go really quickly. That process can drag out. It truly depends on the market. This is the one thing where I cannot tell you how long it takes. We don't know it's there. But let's say everything went smoothly. If you got in tomorrow, I would project a fall opening. I think that's realistic. We will like I said, get right on that site selection, get the lease signed, and as soon as that lease is signed, that's when the marketing begins because we need to have an address to be able to market your business. So as soon as you get your lease signed, that's when it's really go time. You and I are now meeting every other week to go over your list of to-dos. All of the marketing materials you already have ready at this point because in your business training, I already tell you this is what you're going to need to have on hand. Everything lives in Canva. So I poured in a ton of money into brand development before we launched as a franchise. So you have access to Canva, which has like digital ads and Facebook posts and business cards and pop-up banners and tablecloths, like whatever you're going to need for marketing lives there already. And it's a plug and play where you can plug in your name, your address, your QR code, have it printed out. So that stuff is ready to go because you know exactly what you're going to need because I've told you what to do. So you know what to have ready. Because as soon as that lease is signed, we're going to focus on getting your schedule created so we can have actual classes for people to register into. The more time you have to get kids enrolled, the better enrollment you're going to have. So starting summertime to market for fall, fabulous. Trace down in Orlando, one of the best enrollments I've seen from the moment he opens his doors, signed a lease in February and opened in November. That's how long it took.
Yeah, November.
Yeah, because of permits and stuff like that. He opened with a wonderful enrollment because he had time to build up. So we want to make sure that we have everything ready for you to go as soon as possible to get going. I teach you in your business training what resources work for this. I've been doing this for long enough. We identify together what do you have locally, like I mentioned before, what websites are there where parents are already going and they have the big, huge reach where you're listed as an extracurricular, you're listed under art classes, you're listed under birthday parties, homeschool, all the things. That's where we like to spend some money. We need to go into the schools. This piece, if omitted, will directly affect your enrollment. You have to force yourself to go into those schools, physically walk in, grip and grin, give them flyers, pass those out to the kids. Thank you very much. This doesn't come easy for most people. Most people don't want to do this work. This is the hardest part of this entire business is getting into the schools and going physically there. If you think you're going to get there by sending emails to principals, you're not. This requires boots on the ground effort. And guess what? If you do it, you will open with 100 plus kids. If you don't do it, you'll open with about 40 and grow from there. It depends on what you want. My mom and I did it with no website, no online registration, and opened with 135 kids in Jacksonville. We knew nobody. We had nothing but our feet and flyers. Now we've gotten better at this. We have
Oh, no, Stephanie, I was going to ask, who was it recently went and connected directly with the superintendent of public schools? Because a big message to you, it sounds hard. Again, I'll highlight, it's the most work you're ever going to put into your studio is that initial grand opening. And if you commit to that, pay your teacher to do it, right? But somebody's got to physically go out there and do it. But I think all of these educators, they do believe that the education and enrichment of their kiddos doesn't stop at the four walls of their schools. They've got tons of athletics. There's music programs. But what's fundamentally missing out there is, I think most of you highlighted, is that art education. Mm-hmm. And so when we go in and we've got to have that prop, that big old binder that you bring in and share with them. Like, here's the collateral. Here's the type of stuff that we produce. We truly are different. And then they're like, come on in. And you'll see later on, we got some awesome examples of some of the marketing and stuff we've done with the schools.
Yeah, but what Sean was just talking about, I create a photo book for every new franchisee. It's part of your little welcome package. But it's beautiful, 8.5 by 11 color photos. And it shows a little sampling of all the artwork from every level of the curriculum. So when you are at school events, when you are talking to the principal or whatever, people don't read, but they can see visually how awesome this is and how great it is for the kid. We march into those schools. First of all, guys, I don't like peddling product, But this to me is sharing information. This is a resource that you have now that you're providing your community. And like Sean, to Sean's point, educators that care embrace this. They don't have it at school. The ones that are more hesitant to participate with flyers, well, guess what? We have a scholarship to offer your school to a student that would benefit from this that maybe can't afford it. It's hard for them to turn down 1,400 bucks that can go to a kid. There's ways to get in there. We don't care how. We just know that we need like 30,000 flyers floating around your town. It's a numbers game, period. And you never have to do it again. If you have a teacher help you with this, fine, but I think it's more effective coming from the business owner. It's your business. You know, who's going to do it better than you? But if you can go to as many as those schools as you can, in addition, we're going to have our marketing team. They create your website location page right away, which has the pop-up form for people looking for art classes. So you get all of those leads. You could start communicating with those parents. Because of our wonderful name, we come up high in Google pretty easily. Children's art classes, there we are. So that's to your benefit. But don't spend a ton of money on paid social media. It's just not effective for converting. It's conversations with families that is really going to bring people into your studio. Do you do Facebook posts? Sure. Do you do some Google ads? Sure. But the effectiveness of going in, talking to real people, being at community events, setting up a table, maybe at the farmers market, or maybe there's arts markets, those type of things are really effective for the initial building of your business. And I help you. We help figure out what's best going to be for where you are. And talk to other businesses, other kid businesses. Great to partner, really cheap way to market. I know I had a stack of flyers at my son's music school, Bach to Rock. They had all my stuff in their lobby. I had their stuff in my lobby. That type of business to business marketing is great as well. Great exposure. Open houses before you open are key, where you have your teachers there. Parents can come in, get signed up for classes. All of that is really important. So let me back up just a little bit. Once your lease is signed and we start the initial marketing and the schedule creation and all of that, when your studio is ready, meaning countertops are in, all your art supplies are loaded in the bins, everything looks good. I have eyes on that visually with a little video call to walk through and say, yep, you're good. Then you and your staff of 1, 2, 3, however many teachers you decide you need, come to Jacksonville. And I think this piece is so valuable because you get to be in the studio. We do a hands-on training, and then you're also observing classes later in the afternoon. So you can see it in action. The teachers can see how we transition the kids. All of that I can't create for you in a brand new studio without children in it yet. So it's really important to actually come here, experience that type of training. It's a 2-day training. And then when you go back, your studio's ready and you have your open houses and you get open. Now, times of year, back to school is awesome. You know, if you started in September, that's great. We typically run a 38 to 39 week program, and we do take time off like the kids do. We take 2 weeks off for Christmas. We take a week off for Thanksgiving, and we do a spring break. All the other like Monday holidays that the kids get and whatever, we have art classes. We don't do all of those little school holidays, but we do Thanksgiving, Christmas, spring break. So the whole program can be rolled out 38, 39 weeks. Does that mean that we can't open other times of year? No. January is an approved time to open. Summer is an approved time to open. So there's 3 times a year that you can open your studio that will be worthwhile. January works because kids are switching activities in winter. So that's a nice clean break from, you know, coming back from Christmas, starting a new activity. That works. We have tried other times and they're just not great. You know, if you try to start a business in April and it's a kid business, you've got kids winding down their activities, getting ready for the end of the year. You know, it's not a good time to open. So fall, January, summer, those 3 times of year are great opening times. This is just a sampling of what a teacher might see when they're planning out their weeks. They'll have the same lesson that they'll teach the whole week long. So if they have 1, 2, or 3 tiny hands classes, that project will be done 2 or 3 times that week. And so it's a really easy way for a teacher to plan out their weeks, knowing that they're going to be teaching the same thing all week long. So we help with that during training to get them used to how to read the curriculum books and get ready. DK, did that help with some of those questions?
Yeah, that was very, very insightful. Thank you so much.
Okay, perfect, great. Site selection, your teacher and your location. Those are the 2 things that this business needs solid choices on. So we are really picky when it comes to picking the right spot, and specifically because your franchise agreement is 10 years long. Okay, and so we want to get a lease that matches the length of your agreement, because it really sucks to move halfway through. Done it. Don't want you to have to do that. So we want to be happy with our space, and we want to be there for 10 years. So we're looking for a place we can love for 10 years. And there's no such thing as a perfect space, but we do know what we need. We do not need to be in a super hoity-toity high-end shopping center where it's foot traffic only. We want high traffic, many, many cars driving by your studio that can see your sign. Your sign becomes such a valuable piece of marketing for you year after year after year. That investment into your big glowing sign needs to be seen. So that's what we look for. High traffic, high visibility, everyday shopping centers. Does not need to be in the backyard of a school. These kids don't drive. Their parents drive them. So we need to be in other places, like where there's shopping, grocery shopping, nail salons, coffee shops. Where do people go? That's where we want to be. We want to be with wonderful tenants that complement our business. Karate studios, music studios, tutoring, ideal. Cannabis shops, no. Liquor stores, no. We got to have
Ice cream parlors are great.
ice cream parlors are fantastic. So we want to make sure that these co-tenants make sense for this, and parents feel safe dropping off their child. So we're paying attention to all of these things. We look at the demos, we run the numbers, we run the traffic counts for you. You have major assistance during this whole site selection process. It's not an easy thing. So you have a lot of support. We have Gary, for one, is fantastic to work with, great communicator. And then your local broker is going to be, like I said, debriefed by everything coming down from me and Gary. So we're all working together to help you find this space, and we're not going to put you somewhere that doesn't work. Sean, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Yeah, happy to. So again, as Stephanie was just alluding to, we want to find places where families are going, right? So I always use the Mathnasium example. We don't have to be right next door, but in that same general vicinity is generally good. And I like looking at Mathnasiums and Kumons really because they have, they're 15 years ahead of us in franchising, and they have a world-class real estate team. So I'm like, all right, cool, where are they? It also is a good indicator of our parents investing in the development and enrichment of their kiddos. So we like being there, and be patient. You guys have all probably met Montessa. There wasn't any space. There wasn't any space. And then all of a sudden the clouds parted, the sun came out, and there was a space right next door to a Mathnasium. And so sometimes it gets frustrating, but when the right space comes up, we jump on it. We have boots on the ground in your market and eyes on spaces. And so we want to help you find great spot. And Michael, down where you are, you guys have the world's best soda shops on the planet. That's where I want to be, right? That's where families are taking their kiddos. That's where Jared, he went into a fairly new build, and that was great. Demographics, right? You guys all know I'm the numbers nerd on the team. So when we're going in, we're looking at a specific address. We're going to hone in on some more demos. This is also site selection, but this was also a huge eye opener to me. And that's something that I think is really important for you guys to digest and understand. When we first met Barbara and Stephanie, I thought, all right, cool, we got one out at Ponte Vedra. That's pretty wealthy, pretty affluent. But then I go into, I'm like, all right, we're going to be able to open up in the burbs and more high net worth, high net income type of areas. And then the numbers blew me away with Bay Meadows. Bay Meadows is a wonderful working class neighborhood, right? their median household income is, 58 to 72. This is not just for the highfalutin suburban areas. And you look at when we're looking at that studio out there in Mesa, cool. We're looking at population, right? And we're looking at median household income, make sure that we're at least at that blue collar and above, and student population. So student population, also real integral to what we do is whatever that radius is. In this case, it's a 5-mile radius. In some cases, like Sue in Midtown Manhattan, she's got a 1-mile radius. We're going to ensure that you have at least 20,000 kiddos in a protected band around your studio. And because the reason for that, and there's no Venn diagram, no overlap with other studios, because we want everybody to, if you imagine, if I get 1% of those kids, cool, I got 200 kids. So we want to really foster that collaboration across all of our owners versus competition. And so like Michael, when we're mapping you out versus Jared, and we're like, yeah, you guys are fine. You're far enough away. Same thing with DK and, looking at where you are versus Aurora. We could probably put 3 studios in between. Maybe 2, I'm making it up. But key thing is we really want to foster that collaboration, not have overlap where we're pursuing the same kids and not compete with one another. So that kiddo count is another key metric. You want to hit the next one? Any questions on that? I mean, we'll go deep on your space as we go through it. And then we help design and optimize your space. This is something, again, as we go into really version 4.0, version 5.0 of CAC, that we've learned lessons around the country, learned about permits, learned about other interesting nuances. For example, in Alpharetta, Georgia, if you want to put a coat of paint on the wall, you got to pull a permit. And in other areas, you just go in there over the weekend and paint your walls. You're perfectly fine. But typically, like our ideal studio layout, it's just a rectangle. And we're going to have basically that entrance. And then we're going to have our main studio. Then we're going to have these are all non-load bearing walls. That's a really important thing as you think about, again, permitting and stuff like that. And then we're going to have a wall there to our clay studio, and then another wall. It's really like the cleanup room, other storage supplies, restroom, kilns there in the back. And what's nice with this studio layout is it enabled us to grow when the time is right to run concurrent classes, right? So when you look at, how on earth does Stephanie have 346 kiddos enrolled in Bay Meadows? Well, because we run concurrent classes. Didn't do it in year 1. But then as we grew into year 2, year 3, now we can run concurrent classes. Stephanie, you want to go to the next one?
Sure.
So Dollhouse, right? Not all of us can go 2D to 3D. So we'll render the Dollhouse version and video walkthrough. And then you want to hit the next one? And/or, this is my new favorite, right? What is it? A little schoolhouse on the prairie layout. And this is what Carol did. And we got a tour of Carol's studio coming up in just a moment. There's no walls when we first open. He's got some nice separators up front. Keep the parents away from being helicopter parents and doing the art on behalf of their kiddos. And then, and there's just some nice shelving and then this open space. And then later on, when we're maxing out on day over day and we want to add that concurrent class, cool, we'll throw up a wall. We don't have to do that. We don't have to deal with the permits. So on that, this is a studio tour of Carol's studio up there in Chicagoland.
I was just so tired of waiting on these permits, and it would drag out for months sometimes. And I know my mom and I first started in Jacksonville with a 1-room little schoolhouse type of situation where it was front door all the way to the back wall. And I said, you know what? There's no reason in the world that we can't do this with our franchisees, get open, and then if you need permits for walls, fine. That's fine. If you have to wait 4 months for permits, you're still able to run classes and bring in revenue, and you're not sitting and waiting on the city to do so. So this is Curiel's studio. He's killing it right now, but this was just before he got open. He's not quite set up all the way, but you can see that he did like little cubbies to kind of separate the front room, like the little waiting area, and then everything is planned out where his walls will go. It's not that we don't want you to have walls. We want walls. You want a real waiting room. You don't want those parents being annoying while the teacher's trying to teach. But I'm saying to get open, you can go this approach, knowing where the walls will go. And then in your city or state or county, if you need to get permits for those temporary walls, fine. Apply for permits, that's fine. But it doesn't slow us down. And this is real quick to get open. We're talking floor, paint, and equipment, and you're open. Of course, we have to get your sign. So as soon as you sign a lease, we get your sign going for your outdoor sign. But it's beautiful and it's fun and it's lively, and this one's really big actually. I think his studio is like 1,800 square feet, but the price was right. So he has like the Taj Mahal of studios. I'm jealous, so big. So if it's not like you can't go bigger, you can, but we just don't want to get your rent costs too high because we want to keep the tuition costs affordable. His kiln wasn't even here yet, but this is his little kiln room.
Yeah, and ultimately, like when we do the lease negotiations, that's the beauty of as Stephanie highlighted, our realtors know what we're looking for, and they're experts, they're boots on the ground. And realistically, we want a white shell box with an accessible restroom and the amperage for my kiln. And that's all we really need. And if I can get that white shell, Stephanie, how long did it take you and Chris? Like, you can hire a GC, you can hire a handyman. Typically, this is handyman work, not general contractor and big type stuff. And, and if you want to get put some elbow grease into it, you can put up the paint. So,
Yeah.
And save some shekels.
It's pretty quick. And my husband and I built the walls at our Ponte Vedra studio and learned how to. I hate drywall work. I've done plenty of it in my life, but we did hire a drywaller to come in and then a painter to come in. But it's a pretty quick turnaround once you get your key to your space. So not too complicated of a build out. Now, looking at the training and support, I talked to you guys already about the 2 days in Florida with your teacher, and that occurs after your studio is ready to go. We get you down here for the 2 day training and go through a lot of different things and also the observation. The teacher trainings, we do need to update this because we have shifted our approach to our teacher trainings. Instead of doing the required monthly, we're going in on and focusing on helping the teachers that might need a little more support in different areas. And then I'm organizing more company-wide trainings to continue our education and help us be the most effective we can be in this space. The owners' calls happen kind of periodically now. I'm always in touch though. People don't go a couple days without hearing from me. So I'm a big communicator, but I do love our owners' calls. We keep it very positive, focused on what's coming up. And then I do my one-on-one calls with my franchisees that are going through all of the things getting open. And after you're open, I'm still meeting with you. And then finally, like we back it down to once a month. And then finally, you'll say, I don't need to talk to you really unless I need to talk to you. So it's definitely, there's a constant support there. You're not getting into a business where you're on your own. I'm here to help you always. So that's ongoing support. Curriculum, I already talked to you as far as how that curriculum is laid out, and then of course the training site that has the classroom examples. If there's a training tip on a certain project, that's also included with the lesson on the training site. So anything that I can do to continue to add to this learning library, I do so. And I'm still at the studio once a week because of my kid. So if I'm watching something going on that I think would be useful, I'm constantly updating and adding to this training site. I meet all the time one-on-one with teachers that need help or their owners. Again, it's communication. I do help you with interviews. I'm sitting in on a lot of interviews every day with different franchisees across the country. I can't tell you who to hire, but I've played both sides of this. I've done the teaching for 16 years and the business owner side. So I've worn all the hats, and I will give you as much feedback as I can possibly give you on what I think about the person who's applying for the job, and talk to them and ask the questions, and just help you in that regard. So you have help for the hiring. Every year that you're open, you will add another level of the curriculum. So your second year, you will be offering Art 2 for all the Art 1 students going on up, which is really nice for your teacher and for you. It's kind of like you're growing into your business year after year. Art 3 will be added your third year in business. Art 4, your fourth year in business. Art 4 is really advanced art. We have students that literally will be Art 10 students this year. They can continue to come back because at this point, it's individual. So it's an individual path for this student. We make them define their theme for the year. Then they plan out what mediums they want to be using. And then we facilitate. We have no limits on what they want to do. If they want to do fashion design, we'll bring them in a sewing machine. If they want to do metal fabrication, we have bought the heat guns and all the stuff. I mean, it's really investing into different mediums at this point that future students can be using year after year after year. So you'll get some random equipment. My mom's a shopper, so our studio in Jacksonville is very full. We have a lot of different things available for the kids. But if they want to learn it, we are there as teachers to help them. So it becomes really cool, independent, and they get to be really creative, and they can be successful at their creativity because they have all the tools in their belt at this point. I have a full curriculum. Sean kind of touched on this earlier, but I do have a full curriculum for special events and the birthday parties. So you're not lost to how do I set this up and what should I do? Everything is laid out there. And if you ever have an idea and you need help, we're here to help. It's a long time, a lot of projects, a lot of ideas. And the monthly business operations are very simple. Now that everything is through Sawyer Tools, you get a notification if there's a new student. Our teachers are trained to check their roster every single day they're going to teach, because you might have somebody join the program at midnight the night before. That teacher needs to be set up for that new kid. So part of their job is making sure to check their roster. This is not something that you need to micromanage. The teacher is more than capable of making sure that their class roster is checked before they start, so they set up properly for the right amount of kids. So you get automatic tuition payments every month. If somebody's card declines for whatever reason, Sawyer automatically notifies this person every single day with how to update with a new card. So by the end of the month, you should have nobody unpaid. And if you happen to, you will see there's one person still that never updated their card. It really cuts down on the workload, let me tell you. I've lived without Sawyer before, so it's nice to have that in place. Market introduction. This whole marketing plan is designed to launch you with 100 kids. You don't want to open your doors with 2 kids in a class. We want healthy enrollment. It's a better vibe. It's a better look for you as a business owner. So the early marketing is really important. You never get that time spent again. This is the days, the months before your studio is actually open for business is the hardest you'll ever work at this business. Once you open, it's way more organic growth, word of mouth. Yes, you have your advertising going, but that initial push is the hardest part, and it really will gear you up to start with a nice, healthy enrollment and then grow from there. So I help you. We work together to identify what resources are in your area. We talked in depth about going into the schools, doing community events are very helpful. In addition to those community engagements, yes, do we still do the online presence? Yeah, it's still important to throw some money at Google Ads. We have a wonderful working website that you have your own location page. It's like a little micro site, so everything is linked to you. It does great with those search engine optimizations. You will have all of your own stuff linked to you, plus the pop-up forms for all of those people that you'll find your website online. You'll be able to market to those families and let them know when your schedule's posted or when your studio open houses are, all of that good stuff. Facebook's very easy to do. Don't pay people to do this. You don't need to spend money in places that's not going to bring you kids. Post a picture once a week. I don't know that you need to hire somebody to do that. I'm terrible on all of those things, but even I can do it. So it doesn't need to be something that you're pouring all of your extra minutes into. It's not going to bring you that business. So don't spend all that time on it. Instead, find ways to make connections in your community. Join the Chamber of Commerce. Have events at your studio. That type of stuff, guys, is really going to bring you more kids, that local engagement. Um, Oh, let's see. Okay, so this is kind of showing you the timeline of how everything looks. As soon as almost like before you get your lease signed, we can already have your location page up. You'll have your own bio, you can have your family's pictures, whatever you want. It's going to be custom to your life and your story, and you can totally tell that story on your location page on the website. And so we have that early marketing where if you're not with your space yet, it could still be the coming soon. So if people are finding you, you can start to be building that list. We use Active Campaign, which is fantastic. We've got a really I think it's executive level use of Active Campaign, which is a drip campaign. If you're not familiar, you can use it to send newsletters out to folks and things like that. It's a great way to stay in touch with people. Once that lease is signed, like I mentioned to you, it's go time for all things marketing. So leading up to that time, we will be getting everything lined up for you to just press play because finding the studio site and it can take longer than you want it to because you're dealing with landlords and they're just a whole different realm of person. I'm not going to say much more than that. School events leading up to your opening, open houses we've talked about, social media, keep it simple, basic, don't spend a ton of money on it, and then get open. And once those doors open, that's when you want to make sure that your teacher is living up to the expectations because again, what leaves your studio is your business. The artwork is your business. You want to make sure that things leaving look great and people are happy and they're proud of their things and parents are talking to parents. These are just some things that we have on Canva. There is so much now because there's a lot of creatives on our team of franchisees. So if you don't want to use existing pieces, you can dive into the brand kit and create your own marketing as long as you're using the colors and the fonts and the logos and the messaging. You can create your own. I borrow stuff all the time from franchisees that I think I'm like, oh, that's pretty. You can make a copy of it and make it your own. Anything from schedules to Facebook posts to business cards to printable flyers to digital. I mean, it's all there and then some. So much, in fact, that I kind of organized it into a first time business owner folder so you don't get overwhelmed because there's a lot. So I'm like, these are the things that you have to have, and then anything else, feel free to use it if you want. This over here on the far right is an example of one of those standing pop-up banners. You have to have one of these. They're wonderful for events. They stand out. You can see them from far away. You have to have your tablecloth with the brand on the front because that's striking as well. This three rectangle thing is a trifold brochure, which you could have in the studio as a nice thing, but I wouldn't go crazy and spend a ton of money on these nicer ones. You want to go, well, you normally have a flyer.
But these are also nice. Like when we talk about that Mathnasium, we don't compete with them either. We'll do our
Yeah,
trifolds and put them in their lobby, and vice
yes,
versa. They'll do their trifolds and put them in our lobby. And so, because we're promoting education and enrichment to the kiddos,
yeah,
so they're nice pieces. And then, like if I'm DK or Michael, yeah, look, low key QR code. Hold that back
yeah.
up to Stephanie. We
This
don't
is
have to
the
do full bleed, full color print.
this is the cheapo flyer, I call it, where you get like 30,000 of them. And you paint your town green and you stick them under windows at trampoline parks and you do whatever you need to do to get them everywhere. But they're not expensive. They're just black ink on colored paper and, like Sean said, QR code, which you make for yourself on Canva with all their cool apps on Canva. So Oh, this is a great example. I have to toot my own horn. This is an example of a school engagement. So when I was opening the studio out at the beach, they wanted like, I don't know, $2,000 to partner with their school. Some schools will put an amount on how much it's going to take to give your flyers to that school. Listen, it's money well spent. If they make you pay for it, fine. But there's also things called partnerships in kind, where you can offer a service to that school. In turn, flyers go out. So I took it to a large scale, and I had these families from this big elementary school. There was like 1,800 kids or something at this school, big school. And they would come to my studio, and each family had 1 foot wooden square, and it told them what color on their square, and that's all they knew. And their job was to have colored items of whatever color their board said, textured items. And the family would come to my studio, they would see where I was, they took my information, they would work on their board, and off they went. So when the whole project was done, this thing is like 14 by 14 or something feet. And it's installed now in the cafeteria, and it was their school mascot. So everybody's squares came together, created the Bobcat. It's fantastic. There's a plaque next to it that says, in collaboration with children's art classes. And I still partner with that school to this day. I no longer do these types of things because I don't have time. I just write the check now, but it's a massive amount of kids. So a lot of families right by my studio, are coming from this elementary school. So there's ways to participate, engage with the school, offer a project, that kind of thing. Doesn't matter. The goal is get the flyers out. Get the flyers out. Other types of community engagements. Rob up here with his family, Rob and Emily, they're in Massachusetts, and they do big fundraisers at their studio. And he's involved with like a lot of different sports things in his community, and he'll have like famous athletes donate a jersey, a signed jersey, and they'll raffle things off. And just it brings people together, it raises awareness, it does good for the community, and it gets people into his business. There's a lot of different ways to participate. If you join the Chamber of Commerce, down below, Montessa's doing a ribbon cutting down there. They'll come out to your studio with all of the chamber members. Usually you can go talk at a luncheon and share your brochures and things like that with members of that community. I would say the first year, do it. After that, no need. Get the ribbon cutting, get the recognition, and then you can be done. Josemary is in South Carolina. She used to be my teacher, and then she moved away and bought a studio, and she's killing it. She was my teacher at the beach for 5 years. I was sad to lose her, but she's just doing wonderful things now as her own owner, being a business owner herself. But this is kind of the setup. So this might be at a school, in the gymnasium, whatever. We usually do an activity at the table with the kids. We'll have the photo book to show parents of the projects that they do, that kind of thing. It's all part of your training, guys. There's like 5 questions that parents ask. I teach you what to study so you know how to respond. You will be the expert in all of these things, as I will teach you what to say, and then you'll get really good at it. Examples of local publications. There still are some paper publications that people grab. Like if you're going to one of your favorite restaurants and they have like the local community papers, those are super cheap to market in, and people actually still read them, I think. And they're great places to promote like your open houses, or maybe you're doing a Santa Claus workshop. It's, just some awareness. They're usually pretty thirsty for content, and people pick those up as they're going into the restaurant. We had a wonderful publication that's now only online, Jacks for Kids. And this was like perfect because this little magazine went home in the backpack of every student in Duval County. It was like the best. And we'd always take out a huge ad because we knew the parents were looking at it. It had like the school menus and when football games were and all of that kind of stuff, and then us. So you might have something like that in your local community, but this is kind of an example of like a publication where they would announce an event that you were having at your studio. More marketing pieces. There's anything that you could possibly need. And we made it. We are at the end. Any questions that we haven't talked about, by all means, ask away.
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead.
I guess my question is just kind of there's a lot of moving pieces right now as far as like, there's the the classes, the instructor, getting the rent, getting the lease, finding the place, looking at the demographics, I guess, what should be the next step for us as far as like what to
I'll take
prioritize?
that. So don't go look at space right now, because once you're a franchise owner, then we introduce you to Gary and his team, and that's the next thing. So let me take a step back. So very next thing is I'm going to send you all a recording of this session and a link to schedule any, follow up, follow through, pro forma, whatever you guys want with me. And I'll also send over our franchise info form, which is basically a fill in the blanks for personalizing your franchise agreement, right? So want to make sure we connect you. And if you still want to go visit the local studio or do other validation, fantastic. We highly encourage that. And then, when the time is right, basically you send over that fill in the blanks form so I can personalize your agreement. And then we send it out for electronic signature. And by the way, none of you would be here if we didn't like you and think you'd be good additions to the team. We already weeded out people. That's why I'm talking proactively of next steps. And then sign franchise agreement, Stephanie countersigns, you pay your franchise fee, and then Stephanie hosts your kickoff session. And in that kickoff session is really where we've got a detailed project schedule, DK, that is, here's what detailed activities, bigger picture activities that we do in what sequence, what order, etc. So it doesn't just feel like all this noise. It really systematize it for you and take you through that launch. Call number 2, and goodness, Gary sometimes, as soon as I've got a new franchise owner, he's like calling them already before they even get on Stephanie's call, because we know how important that site selection is. And start getting into that site selection, look at the demographics, what's available. Also having a professional real estate team is wonderful, because they also know what's coming on the market, right? So they know some leases that are expiring, et cetera, and really go focused on that. And then once we find the right place, we do like doing sort of a bake-off, right? We want to find 2, maybe 3 good spots, like Katie's doing here in Folsom. We found 2 great spots, and it's like, okay, which one's going to be like the easiest to open? What's the right rent? Who's got better traffic patterns, et cetera? And then and we submit what they call a letter of intent on that. And so basically, I sort of joke it's like, hey, landlord, I want a date. I don't want to put a ring on, but I want to start dating. And so I'm getting serious about that site. And then, go into lease negotiations and sign a lease. And really, as we're getting down to that point, we do launch like in your market coming soon, this general area. We don't have your address yet, right? But we're going to start getting people aware that we're coming soon. And then once we sign that lease, that's when, again, as Stephanie noted, marketing goes into full gear and recruiting the instructors, right? If I have, like DK in your area, if I just put out hey, I'm hiring an art teacher, and somebody over in Littleton picks it up, they don't want to drive all the way out to the airport every day to teach, a few hours of classes. So we really want to have people that are like, probably 10, 15 minutes away from the studio as our instructors. Some might drive further, but that address is a really key thing for marketing and recruiting. But yeah, right now, you are also maybe our April Discovery Day. Probably our April Discovery Day would be my cutoff for people that can open in the fall. You're all in a really good place right now for a fall opening, but as we get there, again, with what we see in real estate, it's going to take 90 to 120 days. And so, and that's, really focus on that, and you're teed up for a really nice fall opening.
I guess, is it possible to get the territory and demographic detail information, I guess, before we do like the franchise signing and all that stuff, just so I can see a rough idea of these are the areas that we're looking at? Sure.
Yeah, I'll go run some maps for you. I'm happy to do that for everybody, and what I do, right, real selfishly, because I need a physical address to run the tool, I go on Google Maps, I find a Mount-Nazim or a Kumon, I drop a point, and then I draw a circle around it. And so it's not necessarily where you're going to land, but it gives you good visibility, right, in a 1, 3, and 5 mile radius, and say, all right, cool, this looks good. And again, none of y'all would be on this if you didn't have really good availability around you and your demos done, because we've already preliminary run those.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I would just like to see the numbers, but I could also look up mathnasiums around me and Kumans as well, just to see what even is near me, because I'm not 100% familiar with it either.
Cool. You had a question?
Oh, I have
Oh,
some.
sorry. Okay.
Sorry. I have so many questions. So I don't even know where to start, but I did jog on some of my questions along the way, so I'm just going to go from start. Actually, yeah,
Well,
I just
and
want
by
to.
all means, we can also schedule a follow-up with Stephanie too. But go ahead, hit us.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So maybe I would just following what DK was asking about territory. So it's based on the physical location. Now, what is so basically, if obviously, you know, between now and actually a lease is signed, the location might be different. You know, we have to scout out all the different spaces, different places. Now, what is the area? Are we protected based on geographic area, based on number of kids, or based on area coverage, square miles?
It's based on number of kids, and it's going to be officially protected. So if I look at, I'm going to share, whoops, come on, I'll share my screen real quick. So, you know, for example, if I look at where you are, when you sign is, I'm going to pretty much lock down Mountain View up to San Mateo so that I don't sell it out from under you. Okay. And then once you have a physical address, then we draw the rings around that to have at least 20,000 kiddos.
Okay, so 20,000 kids. Okay.
So that then you've got, and we use the 20,000 so that in different parts of the country, right, that might be a 10-mile radius. In other parts, it's a 5-mile radius. And we want to ensure that you've got, you know, really just back of the napkin, if I get 1% enrollment, which Bay Meadows and Beaches and other studios around the country, they blow those out of the water, then I got at least 200 kids. And as you've seen in the pro forma, when I got 200, I've got a nice high-performing studio.
Yeah. What I just want to bring up also, you know, it just depends on the area. There are other competitions as well. See, my area is pretty heavily, you know, populated, and there are, you know, lots of, I'm just like in Palo Alto, there's a Pacific Art League, which is been there for 100 years. They have art classes. There are also local artists up and down the peninsula that offer children's classes similar. They also have a curriculum and stuff. They are not as what's the word, disciplined, structured and disciplined, if you will, but they are competitions. So if I have, you know, 20,000 kids, I have to compete with those guys as well. So, you know, so and it's very different from, you know, a huge, suburban area that, you know, the next art gallery is like 11 miles away, right? So
let's go deep. Let's schedule a follow-up because we'll go deep. And I want you, but you're going to do homework too. Yeah. Because you're going to come to that meeting with those things that are perceived competitors, because we see galleries do art programs all the time. They become good feeders for us. There's other like Young Rembrandts, Abracadoodle. They're fun with art and it's sort of sketchy and fun stuff. They're wonderful feeders for us. So, you know, there's key things. So, but yeah, let's go deep on that. And Stephanie, I apologize for sort of cutting it off. I'm 10 minutes late for a different meeting, but I want to make sure I take care of you guys. Definitely schedule a follow-up.
And maybe because I have so many other questions, also maybe we should schedule a follow-up.
Absolutely. And where you are is very different than, you know, Seattle, Utah, Denver, and going super deep. I mean, I would, like in your market, I'm in Silicon Valley, they're on the peninsula. I've got probably the most, you know, and those people are all really clamoring to get their kids off the screen, and that's like awesome. But let's go deep. I'll send you my calendar link.
Yeah, great. Yeah, there are a few others. I might. I'll send you guys a list of my questions. Those are the starting points of conversation. And I do have another friend who mildly expressed her interest in joining me. She has 2 kids, and she's a fundraiser with Stanford Hospital, and very well connected. And her husband is a professor there, and we're really good friends. I might want her to join my next call.
Sure.
Yeah, if that's
Wonderful.
okay. And
Yeah.
can I share, franchise agreement and stuff with her as well?
Yeah, shoot me her contact information so I can formally get it over. And
Okay.
And again, I'm going to send this recording. But Stephanie, I apologize. I got to go get on
It's okay.
on a not
Yeah.
fun meeting.
We will be
But
in
it was
touch,
great
all
seeing
of you
everybody.
guys.
Thank you so much.
much.
Thank you.
Guys,
Alrighty.
bye-bye.
Bye.
All righty. Bye-bye.